Hello all, welcome back to Learning Partner. If you are new, please do subscribe. This is another channel where you can directly connect with me. We have around 1,000 plus members already who are working. We take live coding sessions and everything. To just get notified about those sessions, please do join this group. So before some days, I have released a video where we have done employee management system. Now, a next version to that will be employee leave management. So if we see in every offices of the company, we have, whenever we are working, obviously we take the leaves. Management will provide us some set of leaves that we earn leave, sick leave. What are the types of leave we have? If let's say every year we get 10, 20 or 22, whatever the leaves our employer will provide, on that we will take the leave. So normal procedure will be we have to raise the request to take the leave. Then that request will normally go to our manager or senior, whatever we are reporting to. Or in some case, let's say it's a small company, HR can approve that, right? So these are the things we have. So same like that, what we are going to do, we are just going to have a simple application where we will create the employee. Then employee, first we will have an admin login or HR login. So HR will log in. HR what can do? HR can create the employees, update and delete all those things. Then he can add the leaves to the particular employee also. Let's say a new joiner is there. So what HR will do? He will create the profile of the employee. Then he will assign some leaves to them. Then employee will log in, because while creation, HR will provide the login details also. Then employee will log in, and once employee log in, he can raise the leave request, and then leave request will again go to the HR, and he can then approve. Once approve, employee will get to know like leave request approved or not. Fine. And finally, we will have a dashboard. HR will also have a dashboard, and employee will also have the dashboard. Now the API. So obviously the project, we cannot do this project with JSON file or something. So we have to rely on the API. So you will be able to find the API on project api.jirasim.in. So this is the API, and inside that employee management, you will have that. So employee APIs are also where department API. Then at the bottom, you will be able to see leaves API. Okay. So these are the APIs which we are going to use. Then template. So if you are new, or if you are already participant of my videos, so I don't create the UI in the video. UI is already created. That is also provided in the GitHub. So you can make use that. So this is going to be our dashboard. Then this is our employee portal where HR will create the employees. Then this is the portal where employee will raise the request, leave request. Fine. So these are the two pages we have, and this is the normal login page which we are going to use. So only 4 to 5 pages are there. With this, we will try to complete our whole application from scratch. Now, I have created a basic Angular project with Angular 18. So you can see in package.json, we have this Angular 18 project. To create the project, we have to use the command ng new, and whatever the project name you give. After npm, after your project got created, next thing I'm using Bootstrap for the designing purpose. So npm install Bootstrap, and just if I'm using icons, so I have installed the font awesome also. So you can also do this. Once Bootstrap and font awesome is installed, then you have to open the angular.json, and in angular.json, in a style array, you need to add the links. So this is just the initial thing what I have done. Okay. Now, how to run the project? Now my API will be accessible on the particular port number. So you have to run your project. So hyphen port, that will be 4209. So make sure you are using the port 4209. Let's run. So by default, our application will run on 4200. But if you specify the port, it will run on that particular port, whatever the port number we provide. So you can see it is running on 4209. Let's try to access our application. Let's move this tab over here. Localhost 4209. So by default, you can see we are getting our employee page. Okay. So this is just the basic thing what I have done. Now, coming back to I have explained like what things we are going to do. Since this is an admin kind of application, admin panel will be there. We will have a navbar and that thing. Okay. So since it is an admin kind of application, we are going to first create the component. So how many components? So for HR login and the employee login, we are not going to have separate login page. Only one login page will be there. Fine. So we will need login component. Let's write the. So this is folder structure, whatever we get. Now in app folder, I will create a pages folder. So right click, new folder, pages. Inside this pages folder, we are going to create the component. Okay. Let's open a new terminal. Now we have to create the project. So component. Either you can write generate component as a full form also, or you can write the shortcut component. Since this is an admin application, so to create that look and feel, where first only login component will be visible. Once login, then we will have the nav bar. So for that, I will create one more component that we will call it as a layout. This will be our parent component once you after user login. Okay, layout component. Then we will need an employee component where HR will create the employees. So ng generate component employee, enter. Then we are going to need a leave request component where employee is going to use that component to raise the leave. So new leave center. Then we are going to need a dashboard. For HR also, we are going to have the dashboard, and for employee, but we are not going to have separate component. Based on the role, we will just hide and show some things. So only one component will be needed for the dashboard. Let's enter. So these are the components which we have created. Once you create the component, next task will be you need to create the routes. So you can see all the components are created. Again, it's Angular 18. So by default, all components are standalone. Previously, we used to have app routing module.ts, but now we have just a constant file. So we have the constant. Now here it's an admin application. So routing structure will be a little bit different. So first path will be empty. Then redirect to. This is like we are creating a default route. Why it's not suggesting? It will take some time to adjust. Why it's not suggesting? Yeah, now it's suggesting redirect to. If in the URL we don't have anything, we are going to navigate to the login. Path match also we need to provide, and value will be full. So this is our default route. After that, we need a login route. So path, login, then component, login component. Fine. Then we will need another empty path. So path, empty. Component will be our layout component. As I said, layout component will be our parent component after we login. Fine. And all the component which we are going to access after the login will be children over here. Square. Again, here we need to create the routes. Let's say first route will be our dashboard. Component. Sorry. Dashboard component. This is first route. Again, path. We need employee component, employee component, second route, then path, then we have leave request component will be leave. Wait, what is the component name which we have created? New leave. Okay, so new leave component. Fine. So this is how your routing structure should be when you are creating admin application. Fine. So dashboard, employee, new leave. Fine. Now, so our routing is done. Let's close this file and let's try to run, check the browser again. So if we reload, by default, you can see over here login work is coming. That's because, and this page is also there. So let's remove the static code, whatever we get. This style, main, everything I will remove. So if we save, by default, we are just getting login. See, if I remove this now, by default, it is navigating to login. That's because of our default route. Fine. Now we need the login UI. So this is the login page. Let's copy this container. Let's put it into our login component. Let's save. We got the login page, but why it is not looking the same? Let's check if we missed any classes. Yeah. So these classes were there. So let's copy and let's move that into our login component over here. Let's save. Now you can see login component is login UI is coming properly as it is. Fine. So our login component is done. Now coming back to API. So if you see in where is the user API? Oh my God, I forgot API or what? Let me just check quickly. But here I'm just going with any object. Let's initialize with empty. So we have created object. So this object, this property, I need to If result is true, we know that API call is successful. Once API call is successful, we need the message. So I think for some last portion, voice is not there. Okay, so let me just explain what I did. So we have just integrated this login API. Video is already there, but just try to bear with this. So from the component only, we have done the API call. We have created instance of router and HTTP client, and we have created object. And this object we have binded to our form. Make sure you add the name and name over here also. And on click of login, we have called this button. So once user is successfully logged in, we are able to navigate to the dashboard component. But if you see the dashboard component, we are able to see layout. In the URL, we have dashboard, but here we are able to see layout. That's because the routing we have done like that. So dashboard is the children of layout. So that's why layout component is getting loaded. Now in the layout component, we need to add a navbar. So from our template only, I have the navbar ready. Let's get that navbar. So this is the navbar. Let's copy navbar. Let's put it into our layout component. So as I said, once user is logged in, the next component parent will be our now component. And here again, we need the router outlet because that is going to render the dashboard component. Now, if we have to use router outlet, so you will need to import like this. Then we can use router outlet. So after this, router outlet. Let's just save. Now we should be able to see the dashboard. See, dashboard is visible and our navbar is also coming. Now, one more part with once we log in, the logged in username we need to show over here and log out button functionality also we need to write. Now, how do we know or where do we have stored the logged in username? In the local storage. See, over here we have stored the local storage. So from that, we will show, let's say employee ID. So this is our local key name. So let's copy this and we have to put this over here. Now, whenever you are reading the local storage data, make sure you add a null check. Okay, so like this local data, if it is there, then while storing the data into the local storage, we have converted it into the string format. So again, we need to convert it back to the object format. So for that, this dot logged user data is equal to JSON dot parse method we have to use. And here in parse, what we will pass? The local storage data, local data. Fine. So now this we will use it over here. Instead of John Doe, we will use interpolation. And what we need to display? So email ID. What is the property name? Email ID. This field name we need to display. Fine. And on click of log off, we need to write the log off functionality. So click on log off. Let's create this function. Now on click of log off, what we need to do? We need to navigate back to the router page. So again, we will need the router instance. Inject router. Fine. Then over here, first we will need the local storage data. So local storage dot remove item is the function which we need to use. What remove item? We need to pass the key. So this is the key only. Then we will navigate back to the login page. So this dot router dot navigate by URL, and we have to navigate back to the login. So login. Fine. Let's just test it one more time if it is working properly as it is expected to. So by default, here you can see hradmin@gmail.com email ID is visible. If I click on log off, now we are again back to the login page. And if we see the local storage, we don't have leave user. Got it? So we have completed our login part successfully. Let's log in again. Let's try login again. Again, one more thing, I'm not covering like validation and everything because I have created plenty of videos. You can refer any of that and that you can complete because the main functionality lies completing the whole project. Okay. Now, so first we will complete. So login part is done. Then we have the navbar. So in the navbar, we just have to provide the links also. So if we for navigation purpose in the navbar, we have to use the link. So by default, like in plain HTML, we use href. But while working with Angular, instead of href, we have to use router link. So router link we need to import. Then this router link, instead of this href, we have to use router link. And here we need to provide, let's say first one is the employee. Now we need to get the routes. So route we have in the over here. So let's get the route. Employee, sorry, in the home layout component like this. Okay. So here what we have done, we have added the route. Then just like the employee, we need to do for the remaining also. After that, we have leave request. So let's copy this. Let's put it over here. Fine. Let's just remove this. Let's save and let's check if we are able to navigate back. So you can see once I click employee component is getting rendered. On leave request component is getting rendered. On click of home, we have to navigate to the our dashboard component. So let's add that also. So this we need to copy over here and we will navigate to the dashboard. And same thing, we have a logo also over here, right? So over here also, we just need to do the same. So by default, if we click on the logo, it will navigate to the dashboard only. Fine, let's just test that. Employee home. Okay, fine. Everything is working fine. Now we can start with the employee component. Now, so in the login component, we write very basic code. Let me just close everything. So in the component only, we made the API call. While creating object, we use any. This is very plain and the basic code. Now, in employee component, we will move just one step ahead. Instead of creating any, we will create our class or interface. Instead of writing API call into component, we will create our service. So first, in app folder, I will create one folder for services. Okay. Now in this service, we have to create our first service. So it's a small application. So we will just go ahead with the one service only. Based on the complexity, we create multiple services also, just to separate out the things. Based on the model, we create multiple services. ng generate s for service. Let's say I'm going with master. Enter. So master service is created. You can see this is how your service will look like. Then in app folder, we have to create one more folder that will be model. And inside model, I will create first, we are going to create a simple TS file. So that will be, let's say, master in a small case .ts. Over here, we are going to create class and interface. Now, so I have already created class. So this is the employee class. This is how you create the employee class. So in while working with Angular, we work with TypeScript. So in TypeScript, either we can create class or interface. Sometimes we will go with class, sometimes we will go with interface. Okay. So this is whatever the object we need. Let me show you the API. So if you scroll at the above, here you can see in the create employee, we will get this. This is the object which we need to send. So this same, you can use JSON place. You can use a site is there which will help you to convert JSON to TS. Fine. So you just need to put your JSON over here and it will help you to create into TypeScript class. Fine. Now, so we have created our interface for the employee. Now in employee component, let me show you the object. Department ID is there. Okay. Now if you see the UI, so here we get the department. But department is like first we have dependent drop-down requirement. So first we have a parent department. Get parent department. So first we have to select the parent department, and once we change the parent department, then we will get the child department, and that child department ID we need to send. Okay. So for that dependent drop-down behavior also we need to implement. Fine. Now, so we have created our class, then we have created our service also. Now we will just copy paste our UI from our template. So let's go over here, index. So let me just copy this container div. Let's copy. Let's paste it over here. Let's save. So now you can see the UI, whatever we created, that is available over here. Now, first thing, I will just do we have created class, right? So first we will bind it to our object. So this is the class we have created. Now we need to create the instance object over here. So let's say employee obj. Now colon, instead of any, we have to provide the class name, whatever the class name which we have created. So our class name is this employee. So let's use this over here. Now it's a class, so we can initialize like this. Okay. Let's add the import also. Fine. Now we have created class. Now one more thing is, let me just minimize this. Here we just have a one drop down. So just like that, we need one more drop down to get the child department. So parent department, and here we will have child department. Dependent drop down. Once we select the parent department, then we will get the child department. Fine. Now, so UI, now this variable is just to get the parent department. This we don't have in the object. Okay. So now we will bind all our form with our object which we have created. So let's open it side by side or over here. Now we are going to do with the ng model, means template form. So first we need to import forms module. Fine. Then on all the input element, we need to bind ng model. So let's write square bracket, round bracket, ng model. What we are going to bind is employee object dot. Now you can see here it is suggesting the properties whatever we have. That is because we have specified those proper data type. In case of login, it was not suggesting because we had gone with any. correct? So this is the benefit of creating class and interface. Instead of using any, we have to use that. Now, what I will do, I will just search this just to increase the speed of the development. And we have to replace this class with this. Same like form select, we have form select also. Let's copy paste. Fine. So everywhere we have done it. Now we just need to bind the properties. And one more thing, input type text is there. We are going to need the name properties also because we are using ng model inside a form type. So let's do that with name equal to double quotes. Sorry. Let's control Z like this. And over here also we need it. Over here also. Wherever we are using ng model, we need the name attribute. Over here also. Fine. Let's just bind the field. So this is for name. So name. Then we have this contact number. Wait, something is wrong over here. Okay, 2 times was there. Let's remove. Now again, something is wrong. Why this is not highlighted? What did we do wrong? We have closing also. Oh, square bracket, wrong side we have done. Square bracket is missing at the start. So make sure you do it whenever you do the copy paste, make sure it is very, you are keeping the eye properly. Okay. So contact number, then we have email. I use the copy paste this strategies just to increase my development speed. Okay. Now this drop down is, we don't have to send the drop down values, the parent department value to the API. So for that, we will just create a normal variable. Parent department ID colon number, or let's go with string only, doesn't matter. String is equal to empty. Fine. And this variable, we will bind it to our ng model direct. And over here, we need to pass the department ID because child department ID is what we need to send. Over here, password, and over here, role. Now, we are going to create employee only, right? So instead of, let's remove this because by static, we will pass it the role. So role over here, we will pass employee. Fine. Statically, we are passing the employee role. And gender we need. So gender, and this call 6, we can move to the parent div over here. Let's remove this empty div. So you can see we have binded our form. Now, so as I said, we are going to have the parent department. Let's check if we have any error first. Always make sure you are checking console. Yes. So here you can see ng model. Somewhere we forgot to add name property. Oh, we didn't bind it. Department ID also over here. Password over here. And over here also we forgot. Gender over here. Let's bind it everywhere. So if you forgot a single place now where you are using ng model and name is not there, you will get the error. Okay. So make sure you add it everywhere. Let's save. So now you can see we don't have it. We don't have the error. Now, so we need to first, we will call the API to get the parent department. Okay. So let me show you the API. So this is the API, get parent department. So this API we need to call on the page load. Once we get the data, that we will bind it to the dropdown. Fine. So execute. So you can see these are the various department we have. Now, this is the API. Now in all my API function, my URL will be constant. I mean, this part is constant. Just the method name is going to change. So in every function, it is the repeated code we will be writing. So instead of that, we will put this common code into our service. So we have created our service, right? So let's go back to our service. Over here, I will create the API URL. Data type will be string equal to like that. Okay. So common part we have kept into a variable. Now let's create a function, get department. Just a normal function I'm creating in the service. From this function, what we are going to do, we are going to make the API call, and whatever the response that API return, we are going to return it also. So return this dot. How you are going to make the API call? If we have to make the API call, HTTP should be needed. So by default, we got the constructor. So let's create an instance of HTTP inside a constructor client. Fine. Now this dot HTTP dot get. Our method is get, and we need to pass API URL. So this dot API URL plus double quotes. Now after this, we need to pass the method name. So this is our method name. So let's get this. Let's put it over here. So our URL will be properly formed. Okay. So this is very basic function of API call. Okay. Let's keep this as it is. Then in the next function, we will again see. Fine. So in our master service, we have created one API call function for getting the department. Now this API call, this function we have to call into our employee component. So on the page load, we will do that. So now we are using implement ng on init lifecycle. On init lifecycle, we need to implement. Once you init now, it will ask us to create that also. Okay. So we have created our function. Now, so next thing, we will create one more function, which will be responsible to call that function. So let's say load department, or instead of department, it is basically parent department. So this dot. Now our parent department function is in our master service. So obviously we need to create the instance of that also. So master service inject what we are going to inject. So master service. Fine. Now this dot master service dot only one function is there, get parent department. That's it. Now if you see the response, see this function is returning data type of observable. Okay. So obviously we can subscribe to it. Round bracket, result colon any. Okay. This is very basic function, and this function we are going to call once the page loads. So in ng on init, we need to invoke it like that. Got it? So now we are going to move. Now whatever the API call data means, whatever the data we get from this API call, we need to store it into a variable. So let's create department list, or majorly it's a parent department. Now over here, we are going to get the array of object. So instead of creating any, now we will create interface. So you can see these are the three fields we are going to get. So let's copy. Let's go to our model.ts, master.ts, and here we will create interface. So export interface parent department. These are the fields we have. Let's remove it. Over here, number will be there. And over here we have colon string. Let's copy paste. Okay. It's not export. Export, it should be there. So we have created our interface. So now this, I will use it into my component over here. Parent department square bracket is equal to empty. We need the import. So let's add the import also. Got it? So instead of writing it any, we use like this. Okay. Now whatever the data we get, that we are going to store over here. So this dot department parent department list is equal to. Now if you see the API, we are getting object, and in data we get the actual array. So here result dot data we need to use. Okay. Again, now as I said, like almost some APIs are going to respond this kind of data. So let's create interface of it. So over here, let's create one more export interface API response. Message will be of data type string. Result will be of data type Boolean. and just data will be dynamic, because sometimes we will get array, sometimes we will get single object also. So that's why here we can keep it as any. Let's format it. Fine. So now in our component, instead of this writing any, we can put it like this. Okay. Now it will throw the error because the return type of this function we said object, and here we are specifying the data type. So that won't work. So now in the service also we need to provide the return type. So observable. Okay. We need to add the import also of RxJS first. RxJS. What we are going to use? Observable. Okay. Now it will allow us to write that. Observable. What type of data we are going to send? This type of data. So this we need to add it over here. Okay. Let's add the import. Once you provide the return type, now after get also you need to provide the return type. Let's add it over here also. So this is your actual proper function should look like. What type of data you are going to send it back, that you need to specify. Then if you go to your component, now we are not getting that error because we specified the response type. See? Okay. Now if you see over here, now result dot, you see we are getting IntelliSense. Fine. So on the page load, we are going to make the API call. That data we are going to store over here. Now this, we will bind it to our dropdown. Okay. So over here, we are going to use control flow statement for loop instead of item. Let's put it. We are going to use option. Option is what we need to iterate. Here we need to use value as a property binding. What we need to bind? Department ID. So department ID we need to bind, and we need to show department name over here. So item dot department name we will show. Let's just test this if we are able to get the department and visible in the form. See, got it? So whatever the department was there, it is coming. Now on change of this department, we need to integrate one more API to get the child department. Let me show you that API. So that is this API, get child department by parent ID. Here we need to pass the department ID. So that will be like this. Let me just get the URL. Your API URL should be like this. Let's copy. Now again, we need to go to the service. Let's create. Now I will just copy this because I have already explained for the first time. Let's change it quickly. Our method name will be like this. So let's copy this. We need to put it over here. Now this function is going to have a parameter because whatever the department ID we select, that we need to pass it. So ID colon number, and this ID we will pass it over here. So after that, again plus ID. Fine. Now this function we need to call. When we are going to call, once the drop down get changed. So on this select, we need to write change event on department change. Let's create this function. Sorry. Let's create this function. Okay. So this dot master service dot, oh yeah, function we have written. Now here we need to pass the whatever the department we selected. We have binded this ID, this variable to this drop down. So this only we need to pass. So this dot over here. So we in this variable, we are going to get the selected ID, whatever the ID we selected. Let's change this to string. Otherwise it will throw the error. Fine. Then we have to subscribe round bracket result colon API response model. Instead of any, everywhere we are going to properly provide the data type. Now, just like parent department, we will create one more variable to store the child department. So instead of parent, child department. Now, whatever the data we get, that we will store it over here. Okay. Now, let's see the child department, what type of data we get. I'm not sure like in which department we have the data. Let's try sample was there. Everyone is removing the data. Okay, let's say in information technology, I will add the sub department. Let me just create it. Even if you also don't find it now, just create like this. So try it out. Child department, parent department ID, Angular. We'll just create two department. React. I have to remove this delete API. Then in tech, or yeah, let's add it in the tech. Testing. I'm just creating child department. Okay. DevOps. Fine. Now, once we have done everything right, let's check it. We need to check that API. So if I pass the parent department ID to this API, we should get the child department. See, just now we have created this. So API is working fine. Now, whatever the data, we have to create the data type interface. So this is the interface what we are going to create. So just like the parent department, let's copy paste. This is the object interface for parent department. Then we need for child department. Instead of department ID, child department. Remaining parent department ID is also there with data type number. And then department name stays the same. We don't have department logo in the child department. Fine. Now the data type, this is what we have to use instead of parent department. Over here, let's add the import also. I'm just going a little bit fast because we have so many things to cover. Okay. Now, so in this variable, we are going to get the child department. So this we will bind it over here. So I will just copy paste this. Instead of parent department, we have to use child department. Instead of parent department, we have child department ID. Remaining stays the same. Let's just check if we are able to do the dependent drop down thing, or someone will call it as a cascading drop down also. So now if we check, so by default, you don't have anything. If I check information technology, you see Angular and React we got. So on the drop down change in the network, you will be able to see the API. See, again, if I change to tech, I will get some different menu, testing and DevOps. Okay. So on this parent drop down change, the dependent drop down options are also getting changed. This is what dependent drop down. Fine. Now, so now we just on click of submit, we just need to call our submit API. Where is that submit API? Create employee. So let's create a service call function. We go to service. Now we are going to create a post API call. So create new employee. Now, whenever we are creating function in the service for post API, it should have an object. So obj, and what type of object we are going to get? Employee. So we have created the class. So now over here, return this dot HTTP post API call. Post API call will have URL and the object, right? So here we have how we have created the URL. This is the normal concatenation. Instead of this, we will use template literal now. So like this, dollar curly bracket, this dot API URL, then method name we need to pass like this. So whatever we did over here, this is the alternate behavior of that. Okay, comma, object we need to pass. Again, we need to provide the return type also just like this. So let's copy over here. Fine. So we have created our API call function. Now on click of submit, we need to call our function API. So let's write it, click on save employee. Let's quickly create this function. Now, this is the post API call we are going to do. We are going to create a new employee over here, right? So this dot master service dot, we have created create new employee function. Okay. So now here we need to pass the object. So that is nothing but employee object we need to pass. Dot subscribe thing. Again, it's a save API call. So we need to provide that if else condition. API response. If result property is true, we will get to know like API was success and we will show the message alert box employee created success. Just whatever the message you feel so that you can display. Okay. And once employee is created, we will initialize our form also. Means we just need to reinitialize our object. So this dot employee object new employee. We will call our constructor. Now I will test it. Fine. So let's say currently we have some data already. Okay. If I select get employees now, we have some data. So see around some data is there. The latest record is admin, what I have inserted from the DB side. Okay. Now if we create one more record should be visible. Let's try. Let's say, let's give it a name Rohit. Again, just provide the dummy mobile number because APIs are free. Everyone will be able to see. So just provide dummy mobile number, email ID also dummy. Now we will select parent department as information technology and React child department 112233. Gender will be, let's say, male. Now let's try to debug it also. In sources, we need to open the employee component. And this is the function we need to check. I have added the debugger. Now on click of submit, API function got triggered. Let's hover on the employee object. See, whatever the data we filled, that is available over here. Role is by default employee that we hard coded. Continue. So now from the API call in the result, we got directly, okay, sorry, this API call is not returning that response. Directly it is returning object. So we don't need the return type over here. We are going to get the employee object only. So this employee object we are going to need. Let's change it over here also. We are going to get the employee type of data only. Fine. We don't need this. Just a success call. That's it. Fine. Sorry. Now, if we check the Gate API again in the Swagger, we should see the Rohit record. Let's execute one more time. So now you can see in the Gate API, we are able to see the Rohit record. So our CRUD means we are able to create the employee. Now that employee we need to show into the table also. So that will for the Gate API. So this API we need to make. So let's create the API call function in our service. Now it will be just the copy paste. So this I will copy get employee method name over here. Let's check the response time. So here you can see directly we are getting the array. So here instead of this, we have to specify array like this. Okay. Just make sure you are providing the proper data type. See the API response, that type of response you need to add it over here. Now, just like this function, we will create one more function that will be load employees, get employee. Okay. Now, whatever the data, what type of data we are going to get? Employee array like this. Fine. Now we need to create one more variable. So let's create it. Employee list. What type of data? Obviously employee array. This will go over here. And this function we need to call on the page load. So this dot like this. Okay. Now, so on the page load, we are going to trigger the API. Whatever the data we get, that we will store it over here. Let's show that also in the table. So in the call summon, we have it. So over here at the rate for loop, tr, then we have td. So in the first TD, we will show instead of employee ID, we have to show serial number. Never show the primary key anywhere in the application. Fine. Over here, we need to show interpolation. It will start from 0, so +1. Then we have TD item dot. Now we will just copy paste this. Then first like name we will show. Then we have contact number. Then we have department we are getting or not. I missed to add the department join. Okay, fine, no worries. So instead of department, we will show the employee ID, email ID. Then we will show the role also. Fine. Then we have gender. Let's showcase the gender also. Let's save and check if we are able to get the data also. Let's file, save all. So see on the page load, we are able to see the data. So we are able to create the employee. We are able to get the employee also. Next thing, edit and update. So we have this action column. So over here, we will add two buttons. So one more TD. Let me just copy paste. So first, let's say success, or let's go with warning color, because that is the color we are following. Edit, and for delete, we will have danger and delete. So first we will complete the delete because that's easy. So now on click of delete, we need to call one function on delete. And what we need to pass? Just the employee ID. So item dot employee ID we need to pass as a parameter, because that's what we are going to send to the API. Okay, let's check the delete API call. So if you see, delete employee API call is there and we need to pass the parameter. Again, URL will be like this. Fine. So let's create a service API call. And if you see, the method is delete. So make sure you use delete also. Let's use it. Delete emp, and we will have a parameter. And this will be our URL. Over here, instead of this one, we will add plus ID, whatever the ID you get. Delete is there. And what is the return type we get? Clear, cancel. What type of return we are going to get? Just the 200. Okay, fine. Let's try. So delete emp is there. Instead of get, it will be delete. Fine. That's it. Now this function we have to make. But in case of delete, always ask user like, are you sure want to delete or not? Right? That thing we do. So constant is delete is equal to confirm. Just like alert box, we have the confirm, but we can send the message. So if we will get OK and cancel, right? If user clicks on OK, we get is delete in true. And inside that, we have to make the API call function. Delete employee, and we need to pass the ID. And while calling this function from HTML, we are passing ID. So that ID we can catch it over here. And this ID we will pass it over here. Fine. And once delete is successful, we need to call this API again so that that record will get removed from the table. Let's check it if we are able to remove the record. So currently we have created, we had this unnecessary record. Let's try to delete. Let's open the network tab. So if I click on delete on this record, we get OK and cancel. If I click on cancel, nothing is happening. See, no API call is there. Again, if I click on delete, wait, something is wrong. Why button is not clickable? Do we have submit button or what? Or we missed type? Yeah. So let's add a type. Don't miss to add the type, because by default it sometimes it might take submit and your page will reload. Fine. So now if I click on delete, we get cancel button, nothing happen. Again, if I click on delete and if I click on OK, now you can see one API call is there. And after API call, again get API call is there, means success. So now in the table, we don't have that record. Let's try to delete this Omkar also. See, that record got deleted. If I refresh again, still I'm not able to see that Omkar and the other deleted record. Fine. So this is how you do the delete. Now the remaining thing is we have to complete our edit operation. Okay. So just the delete edit part is remaining. Now on click of edit, we need to get this record and populate over here. So now in the array only, we are getting all the fields of the employee. So on click of edit, we can just pass the object to the like object which we have created over here. Fine. So Let's create function. Let's add a SM class. Let's make button smaller because it is coming one by below. That is not looking good. Click on edit. Now we have to pass the whole object. Fine. Let's create this. What do we get? Complete employee object we are going to get. So item, what type of data? Employee. And this we will assign it to our employee object. Once we are done with the create thing, now edit won't take so much time because if you are in the same component, fine. Let's just save and check if we are able to populate the edited record. So if I click on undo, you can see record is coming. Just this part is not coming. I will cover this at the end. See, wherever I'm clicking, that record got populated over here. Okay. Now, if you see, we don't have the parent because in the get API we got the child department, but child department will populate once we have the parent department selected. Correct. So for now, what we can do in case of edit mode, by default we will get all the child department. So we have one more API that will get us all the child departments, so that at least department will get selected. So this API we need to call and bind the data. Okay. So let's quickly create this. I'll just copy, paste. Fine. Let's create one more API call function just like this. Get all child, get child departments. Okay. Where we are going to store child department list. Sorry, what type of data we are going to get? API response. Let's remove it. Okay. And this, once we do the edit now, then we need to call this function. This will solve our issue. Let's save. So now if I click on edit, you can see order is selected. Again, this will not select, but again, we have to write the code, but just I'm skipping it for now. Because once you again select, but this is not that much important. Okay. Again, if you select again, it is going to render it. Fine. So edit in the on click of edit, we are able to show the edited record. Now, instead of submit, we just need an update button. So how do we know like we are in the update mode? So if the employee ID is not 0, then we know like it's not a save mode. So at the retrieve statement, I will use with employee object dot employee ID. If it is equal to 0, we know this is a save mode. So this button, we will put it over here, save employee, and else block to this if employee ID is there. So we will go with else block and we will just copy paste the same button, but it will be update employee. For update, we will add success color. Okay. Now on update. So for update, we have one more API. See, this is the API. So if you see, we need to pass the URL also and the object also. So our URL should be like this. So let's quickly create the API call function. Let's copy this, and update is the put one. So instead of delete, it will be put. This should be your URL. You need to pass the parameter also in the URL and the object also. You can see it's still giving error because for the put, we need to pass the object. So ID will also be here. Now here we can just have employee type of object, and whole object we will pass it over here, and from that employee ID also we need to pass. Let's remove this one. So our your URL will be dynamic. Now just like the save, we need one more API call. Let's copy, paste, instead of save, update, and update EMP. We need to pass the employee object. Why it is giving error? We are not going to get array. Here also symbol object. Fine. And this function we need to call over here. Let's just save and check if everything is working fine. Oh, somewhere again error is there. Employee array. No, but we saved enough. Let's reload. Yeah. So let's try to update this record, Varad. Edit. So instead of Varad, let's say Varad ww. Let's change mobile number to 11122334466. Okay. Let's. Why we are getting save button? We didn't save the HTML file or what? We saved it, right? No or no matches for this. Somewhere we did wrong. Employee array. Where we are using employee array. Let's check it. Result of employee array. Okay, here because we change return type over there. Fine. Now we should not have that error. Let's quickly check. So edit instead of Varad ww. Let's change the mobile number. Again, I'm repeating, just put the dummy mobile number. Don't update, don't put your real mobile number, okay? Because APIs are free, everyone will be able to see that. So now on click of update, you can see one API call is there and employee created success. And after that, we are making the get API call. Okay, get API call we didn't do. So once you update, again, you need to make the get API call also. Here also we forgot. How come? In delete, we do that. So once add is done and once update is done, we need to call our get API again. Fine. Let's change it back to the Varad only. On click of update, save, and now updated record is visible. So we have completed our basic CRUD operation of our employee. So now employee we are able to create. Okay. The next thing we have to log in with the employee. Fine. Let's do that now. So let's create couple of employees. Let's say Pankaj. Let's enter a dummy mobile number. Pankaj@gmail.com. So email ID, we are going to use the email ID to log in. Okay. Information technology, React, password 223344. Let's copy paste it also. So email and password what we said 223344. So 223344. Fine. Let's click on save. So this record got created. Let's say Omkar 2233445566. Omkar@gmail.com. Angular. Password will be, let's say, 445566. Let's paste it also. So we have created two proper user 445566. Now let's try to log in. On click of log off. Now let's try to log in with the users which we have created. Pankaj. You can see we are logged in with Pankaj. So now you might be getting idea like how different applications might be working. Okay. So this is how obviously this is like a basic prototype, but obviously no, when we talk about actual application, it will be very vast level. But whatever things are there, the basic things are this only. Fine. So we are able to log in. Now from employee, HR will create the employee and employee is successfully able to log in. Let's log in back with again HR. Now we have to assign the leaves also to the employee. Fine. Let's log in. We forgot one component, that is on leave. So in pages, we will create one more component, ng generate component on leave. So from here, user HR will be adding leaves to the particular user. Let's close it. We created the component, then obviously we need to create the routes. So let's copy, paste, and leaves. Fine. And this we will add it to our navbar. Navbar we have it in the layout component. So let's copy, paste. This is our route name. This will go over here. Right. Let's just save and check, and if let's see if we are able to navigate. Yes. Okay. Again, based on the role, we have to hide and show some things. We will do it at the end because only HR will be able to see employee and the on leave. Okay. Normal employee won't be able to see these links. Fine. So that we will do at the end. Fine. Now, so in this component, we have to do the CRUD operation of where is the API at the end. Yeah. So these are the API and add on leave request, add new on leaves. This is the API which we have to integrate. So let's see if we have created the UI or not. On leave. I forgot that completely. Let me just quickly create the UI also. So this is the get API. Here we are going to get the employee name and everything. Okay. So again, it's just a CRUD operation. Now in the first component, that is the employee, we have used the table format. Now over here, we will use what we can say card format just to have something or card format. I think in leave request, we already have the card format. So let's go with the table structure only. So what I will do, I will just copy paste the code we have in the HTML and then we will just modify it. So we will just refer with the employee thing or let's go with the card. That will be much easier. So this is the container. So let's copy this container and let's paste it into our on leave component over here. Now, so first thing get API we will integrate, then we will move towards the next thing. Just copy. Now the interface I have already created. So let me just get that. So these are the various interface which we are going to need. Let's put it over here. So this is for leave type. Leave type, export, interface. Then this is for on leave. Here we just need employee ID, employee name. That too in a small case. Data type will be string. So just add up. We need to remove this equal to. Then this will be for leave request. Fine. Let's remove this equal to. So we have created interface, whatever the interface we are going to need. Now, let's close everything. Now, in the first component, in the login, we have used template. In the employee also, we have used template. Now in our leave, we are going to use the reactive because it's not just the project implementation we have to do. We should be practicing on the different concept also. So now we will be using reactive form. Now, so in on leave component, we have to create the form. So let's check the object, what we need to send. So this is the object, what we need to send. So let's copy, let's paste it over here and let's comment it. Okay. Now we have to create the reactive form. If we have to use ng model, we import forms model. If we have to use reactive form, so reactive form model we have to import. Then we have to create the reactive form. So let's say form data type will be form group. Okay, is equal to new form group, empty form group I am creating. Then I will create one method to initialize the form. Inside this function, I will initialize the form. So this dot form is equal to new form group. What are the controls we have? So on leave colon new form control. We have to initialize. This is primary key, so we will initialize with 0. Just like that, I will copy paste. Let me just create and copy paste. Okay. Employee ID we will need. Then we will need total on leaves. Sick leave actually I'm not going to use. It is present in the API, but doesn't matter if you have it or not, because I'm not going to have any logic with this. And last updated date. Last updated date, we can send it as a current date. So new date like this. Fine. So we have created our form. Let's remove this. Now this form, we need to bind it to the UI. So we copy pasted the same UI, right? Let me minimize this. So we have this form over here. Employee ID, we don't need to send. Whatever the logged in user ID, that employee ID will be there. But let's say we are logged in as an employee, so we don't need to show the employee drop. Okay. Or we will show it, but it will be in the disabled format. Let's do that, because the same component HR is also going to use, where we need to show the employee ID, whatever the employee ID he has raised that request, right? Or not, because we will just have approve and the close button. So we don't need to open the form. So let's remove that. Now, what type of employee ID? Just one text box we are going to need. So total on leave. Remaining, this is primary key. This we will be sending with the local storage, means logged in user ID. Okay. Now, so this is the object which we are going to need. In the UI, we are just going to bind this. So we have created this form. So first thing, whenever you create the reactive form, on the form tag, you need to bind form group is equal to form. Then we need the text box, right? So let's remove this row. We will just have a single text box, text. And here, instead of ng model, we have to use form controller name is equal to, and we need to bind the control name. So control name is total on leave. This is only what we are going to use. Leave count. Let's remove this. We don't need this also. We don't need this also, because we copied the reason request form. Fine. So we have this form. We binded that form to the with the our reactive form, and to the element we have binded our form controller name also. Now here, since it's a reactive form, so we get a access of on submit. Okay. So on save. Let's create this function. Now again, we need to create the API call function. So let's go to our service. Let's copy this, add on leave. What type of data we are going to get? Now interface we have created, right? So on leave, this type of data we are going to get, and same we are going to return it also. Let's copy paste. Now the method add on leave. This is the method name. So let's paste it over here. And this is going to be post API. So post. This we don't need, like this. And whatever the object we get, that we are passing it over here. So our API call function is ready. Now into our component, we need to first the form value. So form value. So this dot form dot value we will get. So we will get the complete object. But before that, now this employee ID also we need to read. So we need to read the logged in data. So now in every component, we are going to need the logged in ID, correct? So instead of writing that, reading the local storage code everywhere, we will move that code into the service so that we won't have the duplicate code. So where we have written that, in the layout component, we have written it. So let's copy that piece of code. Let's move that into our service so that we don't have to repeat one again and again. So this code will go into this constructor, and logged in data we will move at the top. Fine. So now in the service, we have a variable that we can use. Now in on leave component, we have to create an instance of service. So master inject what we need to inject? Master service, like this. And over here, instead of 0, what we will use? This dot master service dot logged user data dot user ID, sorry, employee ID will be there. Okay. So reading the locus role. So wherever you need the logged in user data, this is how you access it. Okay. Now I'm not going to remove the layout component code. Let's just stay that as it is, because that is the basic thing we covered. Fine. Total employee last updated date. So we get the object, then this dot master service dot, what is it? Add on leave. This is the function, and we will pass this object over there. Fine. Dot subscribe result colon. What type of data we are going to get? See, if you see the API, same. Oh my. So here we are getting this type of response. So now in the service also we need to change the API call response. API response. So always just see what type of data response we get, like that. I have kept some API call response different, some API call response different. So you will also have a practice, because it is based on the API developer, what type of response they will be sending. Okay. Now, like this, let's add the import. Again, if result property alert, we will show message like leaves added or modified, because the same API we will be using to again add it. Fine. And in the else, we will have error, whatever the error we get. So res dot message. Fine. Now, let's just test it if we are able to do the adding part thing on leave. This is static only. Okay. Oh my God, sorry. I missed just completely. So we are logged in as an employee, right? We are logged in as an HR. HR is going to, what do we say? Create an null request. So we need to have that employee drop down. So sorry, I missed that. So we don't need to provide value like this. This will be with 0 only, but we need to show the employee drop down. Okay. So let me just get the drop down code from over here. And that drop down code will be over here. Now we are going to need the employee array. So form controller name, we will again make the API call. And over here, what we need to bind, employee ID, we have to bind it over here. Fine. Let me just close it all. So normally what we did, where is our get API call? So get employee API call again we are going to make. So this API call is going to return the API call data directly array. So the normal way will be, we will create a variable, we will create a function, whatever the data that function return, we will store into that variable. Then we will bind that variable to our HTML. But instead of doing that, we will make use of the async pipe. So as I said, while completing the project, we have to cover all the Angular topics also. So now, instead of normally creating the variable, we will create observable. So that will be, let's say, employee dollar. Whenever we create observable type of data, just add a dollar at the end. Observable. What type of data we are going to store? Employee array, like this. Let's initialize observable. Okay, so we have created observable. Now in constructor, we will just assign the value to this observable. So this dot employee observable is equal to this dot master service dot get all employee. Fine. So here you see we are not subscribing the data. Now this observable I can directly use in the HTML using async pipe. But to use the async pipe, we need to import it also. So async pipe. Fine. Now I can use the async pipe over here. Okay. Now here we have to bind employee ID, and here employee name we have to show. Let's just save and check. So I'm not covering the theory part of async pipe. Just follow the tutorial. So now here you can see Why department? Let's check one more time. What is happening? Oh, it is saying cannot find a control with employee ID. How come? Oh, so see, by default we have created form, but this form we didn't initialize. This function we didn't call anywhere, no? So this function we need to call in constructor. Fine. Then form will be initialized so that we won't get that error. Let's save. Now on the page load, we will have that API and whatever the data is visible. So this is the purpose of async pipe. Whenever UI get rendered, our API call will be there. Okay. Now, what else is remaining? Instead of this child department, select employee. Just the title name we will change. Okay. Now, so let's try to create it. Let's test the, why it is not updating the title employee. Fine. Now if I select, let's select for the record which we have created, there only we will add it so that we can check. So we have created Pankaj. So let's assign some leave to the Pankaj. Let's say I'm assigning 5 leaves to the Pankaj. On click of submit, you can see one API call is there and we got the success also. Now if we check the get API, or let's directly check it also. Just remember, to the Pankaj we have added 5 leaves. Now get API to show all on leave. This is the API which we need to integrate. Let's execute. And where it is Pankaj. So see, for Pankaj, we have got 5. Okay. Now this API call we need to integrate. Let's copy. Let's go to service. Let's copy, paste. Okay. Now let's, yeah, API type response is like this. So API response. Fine. Now we will create a function. So just like this. Get data. Get on leaves. We don't need parameter. Whatever the data we get, that we need to store it into a variable. Colon. I think we have created object interface on leave. So this we will use it over here as an array. We need to add the import of this like this. Okay. Now whatever the data we get, that we will store into this variable. Leave is equal to res dot data. Fine. Now this function we need to call on the page load. So let's implement our ng on init lifecycle event. Oh, sorry. Now in this function, we need to integrate our get data function. Now data will be, we will be getting the data, that data we are storing over here. Let's bind it to the HTML. So over here, we have the card design. So this is the call. Let me just remove the static. Now over here at the red for, I'm not using ng for and ngif right now because the video is only for Angular 18. So that's why I'm covering whatever new things are there in Angular 18. Just see, just refer to the tutorial or the old video. There I have used ng for ng. Okay. Let's see now. Now, employee name we need to showcase. So over here, employee name. So item dot employee name we need to show. And over here, leaves available. We will show the leaves available. Item dot on leaves and updated date. Item dot last updated date. So we will get the date. Now date will have time and everything, right? So we don't need this footer. Let's remove it. We are not going to do the update and the delete part. So that's why we don't need that edit and the delete. So we have to use the date pipe. So again, date pipe we need to add. Or let me just show you the data, how it does it look. Then you will understand why do we need the date pipe. So see, data is coming properly. Pankaj had 5 lists, so that is visible over here. Instead of like this, we don't need this much form, right? Let's restructure the UI. Instead of 7, let's make it 9 and 3 over here. And let's make it column as 12, 12. Instead of 6, we will go to 12, 12. Fine. It's looking proper now. And instead of 6 over here, let's make it 8 and 4. Fine. UI is proper. So see, in updatedly, we are getting date and everything. Instead of that, we just need to show the proper date. So for that, we have to use the date one. So date pipe, then we will format the date. So over here, we will add a date pipe and we need to provide the formatter dd-mmm-yy. So it will show the month name. See, got it? So this is how you do the date pipe. Fine. Again, you might be figuring like we have add and the close button. We will do the customization part at the end. First, we will complete the basic functionality. So we are done with employee and the leave request. So HR is able to create the employee and she is able to add the leaves to the particular employees also. Then in the what do we say, employee login, now employee will be able to raise the request, leave request. That part we will do. Then that leave request again will come to the HR and HR will approve or reject the leaves. Fine. Let's do that right now. So HR, in the HR login, we have added the leaves. Now we need to log in with the employee and employee should be able to request a leave. Fine. We have created 2 users. Let me just open the template. So we didn't save it. Yeah. So let's log in with Pankaj. For the Pankaj, we have added the leaves. Fine. Let's just try to log in with him. Okay. Now in Pankaj login, I should be able to raise the leave request. So let's just copy the HTML code of the leave request. So this is the container. Let's copy. Let's paste it into our leave request over here. Fine. And let's just copy the dashboard code also. Then we can just close this tab. Dashboard HTML. Fine. So let's close this. Save all. So now over here you can see the UI is there. Now let's check the API. So HR has added the leave. Now if now the employee will be able to now raise the request. So this is the API, create new leave request. So here if you see, leave ID is the primary key. So we don't have to send this. Employee ID, the logged in employee ID, we need to send it over here. Leave type ID. So we have one API which will give us the leave type, get leave types. So that whatever the data we get from over here, that we need to show into the dropdown. Currently just medical and the personal 2 leaves I have added. Okay. Now, so first thing we need to again, like in the login component, we have gone with template. In the employee also, we have gone with template. In earn leave, we have completed our by using reactive form. So in leave request also, we are going to use reactive form only. Fine. So let's just close everything. Now in new leave request, here we have to create the form. So let's check what are the controls we need. So this is the object what we are going to need. So let's copy. Let's paste it over here. Now let's create a form object. So form, let's say leave form colon form group is equal to new form group, round bracket, curly bracket. But if we are going to use reactive form, so we need to import reactive form module. Fine. Now we will need to create one more function. Initialize form. We can initialize over here only, but we need this method to be called again and again. We need to initialize the form again and again. So that's why we have to do like this. Okay. Then this dot name form is equal to new form group, round bracket, curly bracket, enter. Now control name. So first control name is this. new form control. This is primary key, so we have to initialize with 0. Then let me just copy paste. Employee ID is also there, and leave type ID. Let's copy, paste. And this is like start date. So again, start date we will initialize, we won't initialize, but let's initialize to empty. Like that, let me just copy paste. Start date, then we have end date, status, reason, and request date. Request date by default we need to send as the current date. So new date, like this. Okay, let's save. So this is how we have initialized the form. Now form we have initialized. Now this form we need to bind to the HTML also. So this is our form tag. Over here, square bracket form group is equal to our form name. Fine. Now what are the controls we have? There we need to bind our form control also. So form control name is equal to, here we need to pass employee ID. So this employee ID, let's just open side by side so that it will be easy for us to copy paste. Where is that? Over here. Okay. So now I will just copy paste this so that we will just have, we will reduce some time. Status we don't need to send, or we will just do hardcode thing, because whenever we are raising a request, by default status will be new. Fine. And reason also. We just need to bind the data. Leave type will go over here. Then start date, end date, status by default we will set it as new, reason, request date also we don't need. So let's remove this also. Fine. So we have created form, and that form we have binded. Now over here we have leave type. So let's check the API call response for the leave type. So over here we are going to get the object. So let's do a normal API call. Fine. So in API call, in our service, first we need to create the function. Like this, I will just copy paste. Get leave type. Let's get the method name. So this is our method name. So let's copy. We need to post it over here. Okay. API response model we are going to return. So let's close this. Now, inside this component on the page load, we are going to call that function. So implement on init lifecycle, we have to implement ng on init. Fine. Now, let's create an operate function get leave type. Just the normal API call, what we do. This again, master service object we need to create. So let's create that. Inject, sorry. What we need to inject? Master service. Okay. Now over here, this dot master service dot get leave type. This function we are going to call. Subscribe API response model. Now whatever the data we get, that we need to store it also. Leave type list colon. Leave type interface we had created, array of that we are going to get. Now whatever the data we get, that we will store into this variable. Now here, instead of normal variable, what we will do, we will create a signal. So is equal to signal we are going to get. What type of data we are going to store? So leave type, array of this. Round bracket, we will initialize with empty array. This is how we create the signal. Okay. Signal we have got from Angular 17, but in Angular 18, it is in a very stable mode. Now, whatever the data we get, that we need to store into the signal. How do we update the signal? So this dot signal dot set method. And what we need to set? res dot data. Sorry, capital R is there. So like this. Okay. Now this function we need to trigger over here. Fine. So by default, we are going to get the data. Now this, we need to bind it to the HTML also. over here. So after this at the rate for loop, instead of this, now how do we read the signal? As a method like this. Okay. Inside this, we need the option. Let's copy. Value will be property binding. What we need to bind? Item dot live type ID. And over here, we need to print the live type name, whatever the type is there. Item dot type name we need to print. Let's just save and check if we are able to see the live type drop down. Is it not compiled or what? Let's check if we are facing any error. Oh, error is also there. Let's save one more time. Let's try to reload. Something is wrong. Let's check what is wrong. Network tab. Let's reload. On the page load, we should have one API call. Yeah, API call is there. Data is also there, but in console, we have error. Oh, so you can see cannot file control with name. Means our form is not initialized. So this function we need to call in constructor. So let's create constructor so that our form will be initialized. Same mistake again I have done. This dot this. Let's save. Now you can see medical and personal is coming. This employee ID drop down. Now HR is also going to see it. So by default, what we are going to do, if the role is employee, we will hide this. Okay. And what will be the employee? The logged in employee. Or instead of hiding, we will just set it. So here also we need the employee drop down, right? So where is the employee drop? Get all employees there, no? This API call we need to do. But recently we have done that in on leave request. So just like that, I will just copy paste. There we had created observable and everything, right? So let's copy observable we have created. Let's add the import. Let's add the import of employee model. Then this we need to assign over here. Fine. Then HTML code like this. Let's copy. And the employee dropdown will be over here like this. Okay. Async pipe we are going to use. So let's add the async pipe. I'm just copy pasting because in the previous component we have done the same thing. Let's just save all and let's check if we get the employee dropdown. It is printed like this. Oh, after this, let's save. Yeah. So see, whatever the employees we have that are available over here. But we are logged in as an employee. So whatever the employee logged in, that option should be by default selected. So for that, once we initialize the form, inside this employee ID, we need to set the local storage data, whatever the logged in user ID. So this dot master service dot logged user data dot employee ID means we are setting the logged in employee ID over here. So that employee will be selected. See, we are logged in with Pankaj. So employee in employee dropdown, we have this selected. Now one more check we need to add. If the role is employee, so we need to disable it. So this dropdown we need to disable because whatever the logged in user is there, that employee will be by default selected. He should not raise a request for another employee. So for that, disable attribute we will use. How it will be disabled? If is equal to employee. Let's just save and check. Not sign we have to use or what? Disabled flag is there. Oh, sorry. We didn't add a role check. Role we need to compare now. Let's make it equal to. Still it is not getting disabled. How come? Let's try to print this. Let's just print rule. Employee only. We are getting employee. Why it is not getting disabled? not equal to. Okay, so instead of doing this over here, but in reactive also disable should work. But why it's not working? Okay, instead of doing this over here, we can do the same thing over here. So once the form is initialized, then we can add a check. If this dot master service dot logged user data dot role is equal to, let's say, employee. So if it is employee, what we need to do? This dot form dot control dot, which control we need to disable? Our, oh my god, here we are writing in on request I was trying, or what? Newly request component. So once the form is initialized, after that, over here, leave form dot control employee ID dot disabled. Okay, let's just save and check if we are able to disable it. So now it is disabled. Okay, I'm not sure like why it was not working. Fine. So, but in reactive form, we normally do the enable and disable thing with basically form object. Okay. So if the role is employee, we are disabling it, and by default, whatever the logged in employee is, that option is by default selected. Okay. Now, so on click of submit, we just need to integrate our API. So instead of let's make it button. Click on save round bracket. Let's create this function. Now, again, in the master service, we need to create our API call function, right? So that will be our post API call. So just like that, let's get the method name. So our method name is create new leave request. So let's copy, paste. This method name will go over here. New request. Okay. And data type will be leave request. Fine. This, let's check the response type. Yeah, message API response only. Now, in this function, first we need to get the form value. This dot form leave form dot value, we will get the complete object. Then this dot master service dot new request, we need to send the value, form value dot subscribe round bracket result colon API response model. If dot result is true, we will say request raise. Okay. Then request raise is there, and in else we didn't make the get API call. We will do that. First, let's check if we are able to create the leave request message. Okay. Let's just save all and let's check. So by default, Pankaj is there. Let's say he wants to take the personal leave. Let's say 16 to 17. Reason of leave, PL, personal leave. Let's inspect and let's check if API call is going properly or not. On click of submit, yes. Oh, no one request. Why it is asking no one request? Is the logic I have written. Let me just quickly check in the API. So if it is new, not equal to null. On leave, I'm checking. Let me just check this API first. Oh, API is fine. Let me just show you what is going wrong. Let's see if I'm refreshing now. Now it is not setting. Okay, but how it was setting for the first time? We have logged in and everything, but let's check if we have any console error. Okay, wait. Let me just change. So it is setting up over here, but in the network call, it was not going employee ID. So that's why we were getting error. Let me show you that. But I'm thinking why it is not going over there. If you check the network call, in the employee ID field is not available over here. So let's debug why it is not there. Let's add a debugger. This is where we are adding it. Then over here also we will add it. Let's try now. Okay. Save. Now if we see form value, why we are not getting this dot leave form? Control. Employee ID is there, value is also there. But if it is disabled, we don't get the in object, we are not getting the employee form ID. Means the employee ID control was disabled. So in the value, we are not getting that. Something else we have to do. Let me just quickly check. One more thing we have to do. If the form is, if any particular control is disabled now, so we won't get that field in the form value. Let me check what was that. What I suggested, reactive form value not getting selected for disable control value. And the first thing only what I did, get raw value. So this is the function method what we need to use. So instead of value, we have to use this. Now we will get it. Let's check it now. Okay, Pankaj is there, medical, 16 to 17. Let's try submit. Now you can see we got the employee ID. So understand, in reactive form, if our control is disabled, and if we try to get the value, the disabled values, we won't get it into the form. So for that, you need to use this method, get raw value. So it will get you all the control. Doesn't matter if it is disabled or not. Okay. Let's try adding debugger over here. Let's continue. So now in the result, we got true. Okay. Let's save. Now let's try to go back to the on leave. Wait, why it is not minimized? It should minimize, no? I have written the code also like that, or no? Oh, no, okay, sorry. So employee has just raised the request. It is not approved yet. So once HR will approve that request, now then this 7 will be 5. Then it will reduce. Okay. Now, so in employee login, we have done that. In employee login, we are able, now one more thing like get API is done, right? Get API is remaining. So we need to show the if logged in. Now there are two APIs. This API we need to integrate. We are logged in by employee. So we need to see the lived request, which I have raised. So this API we need to integrate. So our, what was that network tab? Let's check. Whatever the employee logged in, that we need to do. So let me just get the method name. This is our method name. So in the employee login, we have to call this API where I will get the leaves request I have only raised. Okay. Let's copy. Let's paste. This will need a API call function, means a parameter we will need, and this parameter we will send it over here. Okay. Now this function we need to call. So in leave component on the page load, so over here we will add a null check if this dot master service dot logged user dot role, if role is employee, sorry, this employee will be over here. If it is employee, then we need to call that function. So this dot master service and get leave request by EMP ID, and we need to pass the logged in EMP ID, means nothing but logged in data dot employee ID. Fine. Then we can have a subscribe. Sorry. API response model. And whatever the data we are getting, that we need to store it also. So what will be request list colon. leave request. It will be array like this. Fine. So this we will assign it over here. Oh, we return the function over here. Instead of this, let's move it to separate function, get data. And this function, we need to call it over here. Okay. And this data we need to show into the card format. So let's bind that also. So our basic thing will be done. Let's remove the static contain and the red for loop. And this column we need to move into our for loop. Fine. Now here we need to show the employee name. So comma, curly bracket, item dot. Wait, let me just check the employee. We should be getting the, let me check the API response. Employee name and contact number are coming. So this we need to add into the interface also. Let's add that into the interface. Leave request, go to definition, string. Yeah, employee, okay, not here. Leave request, string, and we are going to get contact number also and type name also. What type of request is there? Fine, and type name. Fine, let's just bind it. Now it will come employee name over here, then start date, item dot start date. Again, date is there, so let's add a date pipe. In the comment you can let me know, or on the WhatsApp also you can let me know. While doing the project in the starting, I try to keep my speed very low, but as it move to the end, my speed automatically get increased. And whatever suggestion, because you should understand what I'm delivering, right? So whatever you feel like I'm doing this wrong, you can please add a comment or just ping me on WhatsApp or LinkedIn, and please do suggest that. Okay, sometimes I skip the things which I have already explained. If you still need that, like that, you can just let me know. Over here, and it will be there. Then we have status. Then we have type name over here. And yeah, that's it. Let's just save and check if we are able to see leaves created by Pankaj. Yeah, so only one leave is created, 16 and 17. Okay. Now, as this is a logged in, what do we say? Employee is logged in. So employee cannot approve that. So this button should be available if logged in role is employee. So let's add a null if condition on this button also. At the rate if, again, master service dot logged user data dot role is equal to if, what was the role? Let me quickly check from the database. I forgot what was the role. Let's open this database. User master. Sorry, employee dropdown was there. So admin was the role we were getting for HR admin. Okay, so this we will add it over here. So if logged in role is admin, then only we need to show approve button. Okay, and edit and the cancel will be there for employee because he should be able to edit and the cancel. Fine. Why am I doing this? Let's just save one more time and let's check. Approve button should not be visible. Yeah, fine. Now edit and the delete should not be available for what do we say? HR. So else block we will add. And in else block, we should be able to show edit and the delete button only. sorry, cancel button. Fine. Let's just now employee has raised the request. Now this request will go to this HR. So let's log in with HR now. So HR email ID is this. Let's check the password 112233. Now in HR login, if we go to the leave request, currently only why we are getting this? We should not have that API call because we have written that API call function based on the role check. But how we are able to get leave type and get employee? Okay, now data is not visible. Okay, so in leave type, here we have added the condition like if role is employee, we are making this call. But if role is not employee, we have to call another API that is get all requests. So HR should be able to see all the leave requests. So this API call function we need to make. Okay, so here you can see so many leave requests are there. So in master service, let's create one more. Okay, let's just remove this parameter. We don't need parameter. Fine. So if what do we say? If role is that role is not employee, so we have to call another function that is get all leave. Like this. We don't need the parameter over here. And this get all data. This function we can call over here. Fine. And on click of save also now we need to call this. Or this piece of code we will move over different function get grid data, and this function we will call it over here. Always have a separate function for different logic, and this function we need to call once we save also. So over here also we need to save. Okay, let's save and check. So now on the page load we should see get all request API call is there. So since HR is login, HR will be able to see all the leave requests. See, Pankaj has raised one, Pandu's request is approved. Okay. Now we will try to approve the Pankaj request. Okay. Now on click of approve, we have to integrate one more API call. So that is change leave status. And here we need to pass the leave ID and the status. Like status will be three: new, approved, and cancel. So either HR will approve or cancel. Okay. Let me just check how API call will be there. So this is how your API call function should look like. Two parameter we need to send. So let's go to service. Change leave request. Okay, this function we need to put it over here. Now this function will need two parameters: leave ID, number, status. Okay, this leave ID will go over here plus, and after this status, so plus status we need to pass. Okay, now on click of approve we need to call our function. So sorry, click function, change status. Like this is an approve function, right? So let's quickly write that. It's a get method. If we see, it's a get method. So over here we have get only. Okay. So let's get the copy this, paste it over here, and we are going to need a parameter leave ID. So item dot leave ID. Okay. Let's add a parameter to this function. Okay. Now change status. Now for this function, we need two parameters, leave ID, sorry, ID, and then it's an approve function. So approved. Fine. Let's just, and after that, again, we need to call this function so that user will be able to see like it is approved or not. Let's just save and check. So Pankaj request currently is in the new status. Now if we click on approve, so now you can see it is approved. So Pankaj initially had 7 leaves. Now if we go to earn leave, so now you can see 5. So our that API logic is working fine. Okay. So basic flow is completed. Now next thing will be dashboard and everything. So let me show you the dashboard API. So now in the dashboard, we have two APIs, get HR dashboard. So if I click on this, you can see total employees, we are able to see total leaves. It's just a normal get API call. And whatever the data we get, that we need to display on over here. Just a normal interpolation we need to do. But here, how we added the role check null like this. So just like that, if logged in role is HR, we need to call this API. Otherwise, we need to call this API. And based on the here, we need to pass the employee. And based on the role, we need to show, because if logged in employees, if the logged in role is employee, we don't need to show this. Okay. But if logged in employee is HR admin, so we need to show this. So just hide and show. Okay. I won't be covering that, but I will be doing it in the example. Okay. So, or I will try to create a short video where I will be just explaining this all things, whatever I have done. Okay. So basically our application is completed. HR is able to log in, HR is able to create the employee, then HR is able to add the leaves to the employee, then employee will log in, right? Once employee log in, he will be able to raise the request, then that request will come to the HR and HR will can approve it. Fine. So these are the various functions we can do. Again, I'm repeating, just check the live version before you implement. All the extra thing, whatever I have not done, that I will implement in the live version, so that you can also have a practical example. You can check the network call, on which button click I'm making which API call. Everything you will be able to understand. Okay. Please do let me know in the comments if I'm missing anything or if I'm not covering anything like you would like me to extra carefully explain that, whatever you feel. So please do like and add the comments. Okay. That's it. So thank you all.